Hey, it's Sri here. In today's video, I'm going to talk you through how to recover from infidelity. Now, if you're watching this video, the chances are that you've been on the receiving end of infidelity or are going through it right now. And if that's the case, my heart goes out to you because I know how much pain it brings and I see it every day in terms of working with clients. And so if you're going through a really difficult time and not sure which way to go and how to navigate yourself through this really difficult situation, then I'd love to be of service to you. If there's any reason you need some help and some guidance on this journey, then all you need to do is in the description section, just click on that link which says book a call with me. Just choose a time that works for you and I'll call you at that scheduled time just to see if there's any way in which I can help you on your journey right now. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and make sure you click on that bell notification as well, so that every week you get access to my latest videos teaching you a little bit more about how to understand more about male psychology in your marriage, how to heal from within, and also how to recover from infidelity as well. Now, infidelity can bring up some of the deepest pain that you can possibly imagine in a marriage. And the reason for that is because, when you commit to someone for a long period of time, what you're really doing is you're trusting that that person is going to exclusively love you. And at the deepest level, what we crave is love. But what happens is when your husband or partner cheats on you, what it does is it triggers three important wounds inside. And that is, it triggers the wound of rejection, it triggers the wounds of inadequacy, so not feeling good enough, and it triggers the wounds of not being loved. And at the end of the day, what happens is when we feel those wounds, it really hits the very core of who we are. The things that you're actually dealing with at that moment in time are not just surface level stuff, they really hit the very core of who you are. And so what you need to understand is that in order to actually move forward and progress, you have to understand and heal those wounds at that deepest level. And this is where I see so many people miss the boat. And it's understandable because when someone cheats on you, what actually happens is initially your first reaction is to put the energy into the other person. Why is it they cheated on me? How can I get them to stop? How on earth could they do such a thing? And so on. So we want to put the energy into the marriage, into that person, which makes perfect sense. But it takes us away from the real work that needs to be done. Now, the reason I wanted to shoot this video is because, earlier today I was actually on a call with someone who basically didn't believe in the idea of working on themselves. They thought it was just some hocus pocus idea and doesn't really make a lot of sense. But what really is important to remember is that if you work on those wounds and you heal from those wounds inside, it's going to change the way in which you look at things. It's going to change, think of it as changing the lens on your eyes so that you can really start to see things in a whole different way. And a lot of the times when I see people who are going through infidelity, as I said, they've had to deal with these wounds for a long time. It's not just this one event that's just happened. They've constantly dealt with issues around confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, self-love, and so on. So it's really a case of just this one thing happening in an isolated way. It's often that, yes, this thing has happened and it's unacceptable behavior, but there's also some really important lessons and some learnings that need to be done internally within yourself. And once you recognize and you heal those wounds, it's going to change the way you look at things. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to explain to you three really important reasons why you want to focus on your own growth and how to do that so you can actually recover from this infidelity and ultimately get to a place where you either save your marriage or you make that conscious decision to say, you know what, this marriage is no longer serving me anymore. I've realized that I've been treated poorly for a long time and I'm going to set some boundaries on that and potentially move down a different path. Now, the first reason why it's so important to work on your own growth and use this in order to recover from infidelity is to recognize that you are the creator of your own world. Now, what I mean by that is I'm not suggesting in any way that you've somehow, you're the person that's responsible for the infidelity and that you're the one that's actually created that. What I'm suggesting is that your reaction to it, your experience of it, is completely in your control. Now, you may be sitting there and thinking to yourself, hang on, but he was the one that did this to me. He made me feel this way. His actions made me feel that way. Yes, his behaviors were the catalyst for you to experience your emotions in your own particular way. but you still have the ability to be able to shift those feelings, to be able to shift the way in which you perceive the experiences so that you can actually recover and heal from it. Now, for those of you who are listening to this and thinking to yourselves, no, actually that's not true, or there's some skepticism around what I'm saying. The easiest example I can give you, and I guess it's an extreme example, is a guy by the name of Viktor Frankl, who was a survivor of the Auschwitz concentration camps during the Hitler regime. Now, what happened during that time was some of the most horrific atrocities that could have ever occurred, probably in the history of this world. But here was a man that found a way to find meaning amongst the most painful experiences that you could ever imagine. He would be well within his right to be angry, to be hurt, to be, scared for his life, etc., etc. It's going to be a whole bunch of different emotions. But here is a man that was actually able to find the right mindset, to shift the meaning amongst it. And if for those of you who are interested, you can grab hold of a book called A Man's Search for Meaning, which actually goes in detail about his experiences of it. But it just tells you that if you can actually shift your world, if you can shift your mindset relating to that experience, then it's incredible how you'll perceive everything totally different, and you will find the positives in it. You will find a deeper reason, a deeper meaning for which you have to go through those experiences. And as I said, I'm not suggesting at all that you don't feel those negative emotions, or you don't feel any of the sadness or the hurt or the rejection or anything like that. There's always going to be a period of time, especially at the beginning, where it's going to feel so intense, and even just the idea of wanting to change your thoughts around it is just, it's sort of incomprehensible. But when you actually take some time through this, and you actually have the intention of wanting to shift the way in which you would change your experience around it, what can happen is that you can find a deeper meaning underneath it. You can recognize that, yes, okay, this behavior, I don't agree with it, it's not good enough, it's not acceptable in any way, but our marriage has been dead for a long time. And maybe this was a straw that broke the camel's back, and now we're actually having to face up to some of the issues and the challenges that we're experiencing. Or maybe you've had to deal with these deeper wounds, as I said before, around rejection and inadequacy, and so now it's this experience is sort of, once again, the straw that broke the camel's back, and has now made you realize, okay, now I need to address some of these internal things inside of me. And once I do that, it's not only going to shift your perception of the experience, but it's going to shift your experience in lots of areas of your life. You'll find that you'll be better at work, you'll be a better mother, you'll be a more healthier version of yourself in terms of mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, the whole package. So all of these things are so critical to recognize, and it all comes from the belief that we are the creators of our own reality. And by changing your thoughts and your emotions in that moment, it can result in the most incredible shifts, and it'll help you recognize that you can actually recover from this. You can actually heal from it. So I guess the takeaway from this point is that I want you to remember that it is absolutely possible for you to change your mindset and your perception of this experience. And by looking at a different viewpoint and saying, what's the actual positive that has come out of it? And once again, in the moment, it's not going to be easy for you to do that, but there will always be a positive benefit from it. I can tell you now, after working with hundreds of women who have been on the receiving end of infidelity, after a year or 2 or 3, they always tell me, Shri, I'm actually really grateful for some of the things that happened at that time. Yes, it wasn't something that I wanted to go through. Yes, I don't agree with any of the behaviors that he engaged in, but I look back, and what it was that was the catalyst for me to actually improve, for me to set some boundaries, for me to set some standards in my marriage, and so on. So there's always a gift that comes with it. And when we focus and put our attention on the positive and the gains that we get out of it in terms of our own growth, then it'll end up allowing you to create some shifts in the long run in terms of your own development as a person. Now, the second reason why you want to be working on your own growth and using that to actually recover from the infidelity is that it ensures that as you develop and grow, that you won't actually become resentful and angry and bitter and so forth in the long run. It is natural for anyone, man or woman, it really doesn't matter, If you're on the receiving end of infidelity, you're going to react negatively to it. I've been on the receiving end of infidelity in my past relationship, and I know what it's like. And it is painful, and at the time you're angry, you're hurt, you feel huge amounts of rejection and so on. But what happens is, if we don't actually face up to the deeper wounds inside that we need to work through, if we don't actually confront those and work on those and work on healing those, what actually ends up happening is we do become resentful, we do become angry, we do become bitter because we're putting that energy out there all the time. Because think of it this way, if I was to get like a feather and I just rubbed your arm, it'll tickle a little bit, but that's about it. But if you've got like cuts and grazes and everything all over and I start doing the same, you're going to flinch. And think of the wounds that you're holding on to when it comes to infidelity as those cuts and those grazes. Is that no matter what anyone says or does or anything like that, it's going to trigger you. And that's not just you, that's anyone on this planet, because we don't want to feel rejected by anyone. We don't want to feel betrayed by anyone. And so what we end up doing is we react, and over time, if we hold on to that negativity, we're only going to become bitter and angry, and it's going to impact our life moving forward. So once again, this is another reason why you've got to be working on your own internal self, which means learning to consciously work on choosing your thoughts. It means working on the emotional part of your own healing as well. It means really setting boundaries, and it means also just really spending some time looking after yourself and giving yourself some TLC as well. And the beauty of it is that when we do our own internal healing, we get to a place where we realize that the past doesn't have to equal the future. Which then leads me to my third point, which basically is all about recognizing that when we do our own internal healing, what actually happens is we begin to attract different experiences into our lives as well. You see, some of you may be familiar with the law of attraction, and there are many different laws in the universe that I believe. But I do believe that when we actually do the healing inside, we heal a lot of those internal scars and so forth inside. It means that we can approach life moving forward in a really open-minded and a clear and joyful and loving way. And as we do that, it means that all areas of our lives start to shift. We start to do better in our work. We start to do better in terms of home environment. We do better when it comes to our relationship with our friends. And also, if you are in a place where you've decided that you want to walk away from your husband because of some negative behaviors that have been going on for a long time, it means that down the line, when you're ready, you're going to attract someone who is the perfect fit for you because you've done so much of your own healing. You see, a relationship always, and I've said this a million times before, but a relationship is so often a reflection of our own internal challenges. If we feel like we're not good enough inside, then a relationship will bring that up inside of us. If we're feeling guilt all the time, a relationship will bring that out in us. And so whatever challenges that we're dealing with internally, they will be reflected in the marriage. But if you can heal a lot of those wounds inside, you can then go into the marriage almost with a blank slate. And it's such a beautiful experience when you can do that, because you can create the level of love, joy, and happiness. But you'll also make sure that you set the right standards and the right behaviors in the marriage as well. And there's this lovely approach to the marriage where both parties are focused on each other and really growing each other and helping each other and really giving the love and finding joy in giving, rather than keeping a tab on, okay, well, I've given you this much, well, you need to give me that much, and so on. It brings up a whole range of issues when you have this trading mindset. But when you can actually take that approach of, I find joy in giving to you, and same with the other person, it creates the most extraordinary marriage. So by doing a lot of your own internal healing, by putting the work in, by creating true transformation on the inside, what it does is it opens a pathway for abundance in all areas of life. And I don't mean abundance in terms of financial success and so forth, even though that will happen. But what I mean is in terms of joy and happiness and love and all of those beautiful emotions that can come about. So then the question becomes, how do I actually go about creating some of that internal healing? Now, a few things to remember. One, it's not an overnight thing. You have to get into this mindset of it is a lifetime approach to your growth. Because when you learn a little bit, you're going to grow, and that's going to be a beautiful thing. And then you may come across other challenges and you need to grow further. And you come across other challenges and you need to grow further. So there's always an element of growth that continues to apply in the journey. And that's why you have to take a long-term approach to it. That's just a psychological shift that you need to make sure you apply there. Secondly, a simple thing is just trying to feel good. And you can do that by focusing on what I call heart-based breathing. So all you need to do is just for a couple of minutes every day, just put your right hand on your heart and just breathe from your heart for a couple of minutes and just feel that breath coming in and out of your heart. You can put this video on pause now and just test this out for a couple of minutes and just see how you feel. Really make sure that you're focusing on the breath. If the brain comes in and starts trying to run a whole bunch of different thoughts, just put your attention back on your breath. Now, it's just a simple thing that you can do. And just because of time, it's hard to condense every little activity that you can possibly do into a short video like this. But it's just something that you can just put into practice immediately, just to shift how you feel and just to give you a little bit of respite. And then thirdly, what you want to be doing is really identifying and understanding what are the belief systems that you're holding on to. You know, do you feel like you're not good enough as a person? Do you feel like a failure? Do you feel like you're unlovable and you're not worthy of love and so on? And if you are feeling like that, it's good to firstly identify that, and secondly, make sure you get some help around that to release those, to get rid of those beliefs, and to replace them with some really beautiful beliefs like I am enough, and I am successful, and I am happy, and I am joyful, and I am worthy of love, and so on. If you can really create those shifts around that, then I promise you it'll completely change your perception and your viewpoint on the world and your whole experiences within your marriage, within your life, within your children, etc. It's such a powerful thing. Now, I know it's difficult to sometimes know exactly what steps to take. As I said, there are things that can be done. It's hard to condense it in a short video like this. So for that reason, I've created my program called the Authentic Relationship System, which is there to help you to create the shifts that you want within you and help you to recover from infidelity as well. So either get to a place where the marriage starts to improve, or you move forward and you realize, okay, I don't know if this marriage is for me anymore. I'm going to move on and I'm going to try and put the work in order to heal myself. Now, I know some of you might be sitting there going, geez, but I just don't want to let go of my marriage, and that's totally cool. You want to put all of your energy into saving it. And only then, only until you've got to the point where it's like, there's no way that this is going to happen, only then do you exercise that path in terms of walking away. And so if you are feeling like, you know, you're not sure how to navigate your way through this journey and through this path, and I'd love to be of service to you, just to see if I can help you through my program as well. So all you need to do if you want to see if this is a good fit for you, there's no pressure at all, but if it does feel like something you want to explore, all you need to do is just click on that description section below where it says book a call with me. Just click on that link, choose a time that works for you, just fill out the short application form, and then I'll contact you at the scheduled time just to see if I can help, learn about where you are now, where you want to get to, and how we can bridge that gap as well. I'm telling you now that personal growth and transformation it's not an option, in my opinion. It's a must. It's something you have to do. You've got to make sure that you're putting in the work in. Whether that's with me, whether it's someone else, do something, because that's how you're actually going to grow. That's how you're going to change. That's how you're going to create the shifts that you need to in your life. And I'm not saying that from a place of that there's something wrong with you. It just means more from a place of you want to better yourself. You want to heal so you can find true inner peace, true inner happiness, and experience the life that you truly deserve in terms of not just in other areas of life, but in your marriage as well. Because I want you to experience that. I want you to experience the joy around that as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, make sure you hit the like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And let me know what your biggest takeaway is from this video as well. Just write your comments down below in the comment section. I'll make sure I respond to every single one of them. And if you want to learn how to rebuild trust in a marriage, just click this video above. And if you want to learn whether men regret losing a good woman, just click this video above. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in the next video.